Hello Pisces, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Jen with Bohemian Path Tarot, and we are doing July readings today. I've got the Unfolding Path Tarot here, and as always, these are, not to panic, as always, these are general readings for a general Pisces audience. So please take what resonates for you. Wow. And leave the rest for another Pisces. I invite you to check out the videos for your major astrological placements, so your sun sign, your rising sign, and your moon sign. And sometimes one or the other is most resonant. Sometimes, it's a pastiche, a little from everything gives you the most resonant experience. I'm also going to pull one card from the Sweet Blossom Lenormand, and I apologize if you can hear the helicopter over my apartment. I don't know what's happening, but something exciting is happening in my neighborhood. Clouds. Okay. So clouds tends to indicate that there's something on your mind, something that may be troubling you, something that may be keeping you down or obfuscating an answer. It tends to come up when we may be feeling some confusion, self-doubt, waiting for illumination, waiting for an answer. But when we look at the rest of your tarot here, these are hardcore tarot cards. We've got 5 major arcana cards. So you are doing some heavy duty internal changes that are absolutely going to change your external world. So even if you're feeling some, self-doubt or confusion, or if you feel unsure about something, or you're waiting on an answer for something, change is on the way, and it is going to show up in your world very soon. The first row here, we have the 7 of Wands and the Death card. So the 7 of Wands for me is like an audition card or an interview card, a card where you stand up for what you do, your skill set, your opinions, your your ideas, who you are and what you do. You bring it to an audience. It could be a situation where you defend your thesis, it's a job interview, it's an audition, something like that. And this is something that you want to do. It's not, in my experience, this isn't something you're forced to do. You want this role or this PhD or whatever you're defending or presenting. Sometimes it's an informal situation where maybe, the boss is gone and you have to step up into a leadership role at the office or something like that. But more often than not, you've thrown your hat into the ring for something, a role or something like that, right? And paired with that is the Death card, which any fan of the tarot knows this is a card of transformation. And I always tell the story of the caterpillar with the Death card that crawls along on the earth. It's an earthbound being until it can't be an earthbound being anymore, and it crawls up on a twig or a leaf, and it spins a little chrysalis. And in the chrysalis, the little caterpillar changes shape and actually becomes goo for a time, for a couple of weeks or whatever it is. And when you change shape, when the caterpillar stops being a caterpillar, it's kind of a nothing thing before it becomes a butterfly. There's that transition phase where it's shapeless when it's shifting and changing and morphing. And that could be what you're experiencing over here in this doubt, this insecurity, this lack of knowing, that kind of nothing phase, when you're before you've become the butterfly, because there's just a timing piece to it. And then finally, when the butterfly has fully transitioned, it can't stay in the cocoon any longer. It has to bust out, and then it flies away. And it can no longer be a being of the earth. It's now a being of the sky, and it flies. And it interfaces with the world as a being of the air now, right? Instead of a being of the earth. And everything it interacts with no longer recognizes it. It's this whole other thing. So whatever you're auditioning for or interviewing for, or whatever you're putting yourself out there for, or maybe it's even less formal than that, but for whatever reason you're putting yourself out there in a new way, and you're about to be in some sense sort of unrecognizable. You're transforming into a new thing, a thing with wings, and you're about to interface with the world in this whole new way. And it's not a fake way. It's going to be this whole new way that you're going to be. So that might feel different. That might put you on a new path. And so here we have the Hermit here. The Hermit card showing up for you doesn't mean you have to go live on a mountaintop. It doesn't mean you have to break off all your friendships or anything like that. The Hermit, it just indicates a specialty wisdom that you have. And usually the Hermit has a wisdom that can be shared, and it should be shared. It must be shared. The wisdom of the Hermit is a little more pure. If you'll notice, the wisdom has just one walking staff, whereas the character defending her ideas over here has a bunch. She's kind of throwing everything she has over here. But in this new journey, the Hermit only needs one. Her sort of wisdom is refined. Okay, and so there's a piece here with the Hermit about refined wisdom. You don't need to have all the bells and the whistles and the whatnot. This could speak to editing a project, but there is also a sort of an up-leveling of your audience. You might have a more refined audience than you had over here. You may be bringing your message or your product to a different or a more refined market. This Hermit is paired with the Chariot, which is a card of fast progress, movement, momentum. Look at all the stars that are associated with the Chariots. Yeah. So it's no coincidence that there's a star with the Hermit, there's stars with the Chariot, there's that element of the star card, which comes later in the tarot. But the star also hints at stardom, like electricity. Stars tend to point to, that magical wish fulfillment. So there's also this element of moving forward towards your grander goals in both of these cards. The Chariot is associated with Cancer season and July, which is obviously the month that we're in. So this progress is happening now. All right, let's get to it. The Tower. I don't hate the Tower. Especially if you've been feeling stagnant. The Tower speaks to breaking through stagnation. It usually occurs when something that is broken, something that is ill-formed or worn down or no longer serves you has to break away so that you can move forward, so that you can progress. There's also this piece with the Tower that sometimes, you know that story of Rapunzel? You know, she was locked away in a tower. She was stuck in a tower. She was hidden away. She couldn't have a life. She couldn't meet guys. She had no life. And so when the tower collapses, it's dramatic and scary, but it frees her to have an actual life. There's another piece about the tower that always reminds me of knight's armor. You know, when you're wearing armor, you might feel protected, but like you can't do yoga. Nobody can see you. You can't really hug anybody. It doesn't let you be vulnerable. So there's this other element of the tower when it comes down. It requires you to be actually vulnerable. So for some of us, the tower coming down is about admitting a certain vulnerability or allowing a certain vulnerability. So sometimes when the tower shows up, for some of us, it is about letting go of a mask or letting go of, kind of hiding in the tower and agreeing to participate in life, agreeing to be vulnerable, stepping into the real world. So there's that piece. And that is paired with a magician. And the magician, of course, we know is the manifester of the tarot. The magician doesn't just hope and make things happen. There's the vision board piece, sure. There's the piece about, thinking about and getting clear about what is wanted and connecting with the divine source. But there's also the part the magician does that's about practice. That's about learning the magic trick and doing it over and over. There's the part about putting on the fancy costume and having the music and the Razzle Dazzle and getting out in the world and, putting on social media where you're going to be appearing and, connecting with people in order to have an audience and participating in life. So there's a call kind of in this in this column, if you will, about participating. Even if there's some part that's a little bit about razzle dazzle, it's still about participating, doing the legwork, showing up, believing in your own talents, and also believing in your audience desire to be a part of the show, to show up, to participate, right? The magician doesn't just manifest. The magician also delights in the process. And the costumes, and the smoke and mirrors, and the razzle dazzle. Okay, so I'm kind of mixing metaphors with the magician, but I mean, that's the fun of it, right? So to review, Pisces, the clouds may indicate a time when you may be feeling a lack of clarity. You may even be feeling depression or down or disappointed. But we see through your tarot that there's some moment here where you're putting yourself forth or showing up with your talents, with your skills, with your opinions for something that you want, for something that you want to be known for or known by. And there's this transformational moment. You're going to be sort of refining your wisdom, refining your presentation. It's just sort of a product of this transformation. It's a phase where you have to show up differently in the world. And that inspires this sudden progress. And this progress is happening this month. This may cause the breakdown of walls that you don't need anymore anyway. So enjoy the up-leveling of the audience, the razzle-dazzle, because the audience is ready and waiting for you. All right, I'm going to leave it there, Pisces. I hope you enjoyed your reading. If so, I invite you to give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for stopping by. Until next time, take very good care of yourself. Bye for now.